Have you ever been so excited for a game to be released only to lose all that excitement in a split second after learning it was surprisingly canceled? Well, sometimes video games fall through the cracks during their production phase and never find a way to be stocked on the shelves of your favorite video game store. It's crazy to think these games, which would have amassed a boatload of cash and a huge profit, could be canceled. But that's how things go in the video game industry sometimes. Without further ado, here are 10 canceled video games that would have made millions. But before we begin, hit that subscribe button to stay updated with our awesome video. TimeSplitters 4. TimeSplitters is one of those video game series which causes so much nostalgia to creep in just by saying the word. The franchise has often been compared to the cult classic GoldenEye 007, so that's saying something. All 3 games in the series were brilliant and successful. Due to the success of the trilogy, it seemed entirely possible game developer Free Radical would work on a 4th installment for the PlayStation 3, right? Well, over a decade has gone by since the release of TimeSplitters Future Perfect, and there still hasn't even been a sniff of TimeSplitters 4. This is all due to the fact Free Radical was bought out by German developer Crytek in 2009. So thanks Crytek for ruining the dreams of many by refusing to create a new TimeSplitters installment. There were actually rumors of crowdfunding that gave gamers a moment of extreme happiness before we were let down for good in 2013 when Steve Ellis, a former developer who worked on the TimeSplitter games, said, "Marketing teams need a character to put on the box," which pretty much means the project is, well, dead. At least Steve didn't toy with our feelings. He just tells it how it is. 6 Days in Fallujah. From the title alone, 6 Days in Fallujah sounds amazing. A lot can happen in 6 days, especially during the Iraq War. The game was supposed to be released for both PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 and would have been the first video game to ever be set during the Iraq War. The game was gaining media attention in 2009 as a possible rival to Call of Duty, which was the staple of the modern shooter genre and continues to be a giant in the video game industry today. The big marketing point of the game is the fact it was supposed to be a hyper-realistic shooter and one of the most realistic war games ever released. Developer Atomic Games promised for an incredibly eventful 6 days, so it's understandable how disappointed the community became when they realized the game would no longer be released. All the hype for nothing. We don't really know anything about how the story would unfold, but Atomic Games interviewed over 70 people who were involved in the Second Battle of Fallujah to develop the title. You can't say they weren't doing their research. If Konami didn't suspend the project, I'm sure the game would have been a goldmine. Dirty Harry. The name alone would attract both movie fans and gamers alike. Dirty Harry was supposed to be released in 2007 for both PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It was also rumored to be set between the original movie and the sequel, Magnum Force, to give Clint Eastwood's classic cop character some more depth. I guess having some awesome one-liners and hilarious quotes isn't enough depth to begin with. Sadly, the game developer, The Collective, were not lucky punks, and after years of development, the project was canceled for good. This was incredibly disappointing, as gamers were so pumped for the game ever since Mr. Clint Eastwood himself gave it his blessing. Clint actually had an important role in the game's development as he had a say in the creative process. He also voice acted as Dirty Harry, and the developers did their best for the character to have Clint's likeness. In the end, all The Collective could say as the reason for canceling the game is trouble. By trouble, they meant they were no longer capable of creating a game up to the standards they originally set. It's disappointing because the game had so much potential before it was canceled for good. Star Wars 1313. Star Wars 1313 was intended to be an interesting expansion to the Star Wars saga, and I know what you're thinking, but no, it is not set in the year 1313. This canceled game is actually named after the area of Coruscant where most of the game would have taken place. It was rumored to feature the mysterious bounty hunter Boba Fett as the main character. The game was supposed to feature realistic combat with an emphasis on the famous lightsaber. Beginning in 2012, we all expected Star Wars 1313 to have a long and tedious development process, but out of nowhere, it just disappeared. When Disney bought Lucasfilm in 2013, they closed down the LucasArts branch that was responsible for developing the game. I guess not everything Disney touches turns to gold. Some of it turns to dust. Rumors began to surface about production of 1313 continuing, but it became clear to both Star Wars fans and gamers alike this title will never be released. That is such a shame because, let's be honest, this game would sell like hotcakes just because it has Star Wars in the title. Maybe in a galaxy far, far away, we will be able to play the completed version of Star Wars 1313. Halo Chronicles. Just like Star Wars, anything with the name Halo on it is a guaranteed profit. No questions asked. So it's hard to believe Bungie would ever abandon the development of a project like Halo Chronicles for Xbox 360. Confirmed in 2008, Halo Chronicles was described as both an episodic storytelling project and the filmiest of the Halo games. It was unlike anything Bungie had created at the time, which definitely piqued the interest of gamers around the world. Although the public knows next to nothing about the plot, what we do know is the game would have resembled an interactive movie. It starts to make much more sense when you realize the game was supposed to be released alongside the elusive Halo movie directed by Peter Jackson. Yes, the same Peter Jackson who directed, wrote, and produced both the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy. The video game would have been a companion piece sporting a narrative about intimate, personal aspects of war. Once the production on the Halo movie was scrapped, the production of Chronicles slowly faded into nothingness until the game officially ceased production in 2009. Had the movie and game actually been released, Halo would have hit the jackpot. The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is thought to be one of the best superhero movies of all time. Both movie fans and gamers were very excited when the game was announced to be released on PlayStation 3 in 2008. Since the movie was spectacular, expectations were sky high for this game. Gamers were hyping it up as one of the best games of all time, but that just turned out to be some wishful thinking. Any game featuring Batman and Heath Ledger's Joker would have been a blast to play. Not too long after the game began its development phase, it just disappeared off the face of the earth. It's rumored if the game would have been released, it would have made over $100 million in revenue from the companies involved. That kind of profit would have put Pandemic Studios on the map, but the game developer was shut down in 2009 after some downsizing at Electric Arts. It's not all bad though, because if it wasn't for all of this, we most likely would have never seen the release of Arkham Asylum in 2009 and the beginning of a very successful Batman video game series. Agent. Rockstar has developed some incredibly successful game franchises such as Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto. So there's no way on this green earth Agent, their 70s-inspired Bond spoof that was supposed to be released for both PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, would not have been successful as well. There is still hope this game will see the light of day, as it has never been officially cancelled, but it has been put on hold plenty of times. Sony CEO Jack Tretton was talking about the game in 2013, discussing its position as a possible PlayStation 4 exclusive. That is great news for Sony and terrible news for Microsoft. The way things are going, it looks like Agent will remain shelved until someone finally says enough is enough and cancels it for good. That being said, Rockstar would be out of their minds to quit this project. The amount of cash they can bring in from this witty espionage action game would be insane. Well, distributor Take-Two Interactive renewed the trademark for Agent as recently as 2016, which either means the game will be developed soon or stay on the shelf even longer. Only time will tell. The Lord of the Rings: The White Council. Yeah, we just can't get enough of Peter Jackson on the gamer. But seriously, The Lord of the Rings probably translates to big bucks in some foreign language since everything with the name turns to gold. It's safe to say The Lord of the Rings: The White Council, which was set to be released in 2007, would most likely have been financially successful. The game was obviously supposed to be tied into the movies. It would have been a huge open-world Lord of the Rings game, which just sounds incredible. Just thinking of walking around a virtual Middle-earth can put a smile on your face. We had to wait until Shadow of Mordor was released in 2014 to get that opportunity. Despite its many flaws, Shadow of Mordor was a solid game, and guess what? It was very successful, selling over 3 million copies worldwide. The White Council was delayed by Electronic Arts in 2007 due to management problems. So they decided to work with the same game developer that worked on the canceled Dark Knight game, Pandemic Studios, to create The Lord of the Rings: Conquest in 2009. We haven't heard anything about the production of the White Council since. Fallout Online. Even if you're not too familiar with the Fallout franchise, there's probably no need to even explain why or how this game would have made tens of millions of dollars in profit if it was actually released. The development of Fallout Online began in 2007 with some small steps and was supposed to be later released exclusively for PC. The Fallout games are open-world RPGs set in a post-nuclear apocalypse with a surprisingly beautiful atmosphere. In other words, it is the perfect game to make into an MMORPG. Unfortunately, it was just not meant to be. It turns out the demise of this game was a legal dispute that began in 2009 between Fallout franchise owner Bethesda Softworks and Interplay Entertainment, who were in charge of developing Fallout Online. Supposedly, Bethesda was not too keen on letting Interplay reference the Fallout universe, which doesn't really make much sense. I guess Bethesda thought nobody could make the game better than they could. Long story short, the dispute was resolved in 2012 when Bethesda was given full rights to produce Fallout Online. But by then, there was no one left to work on it. Well, Bethesda, you should be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. Super Mario 128. After Super Mario 64's successful release, many gamers were branding the game as the best ever made. While the game is certainly not aged well, it is the best-selling Nintendo 64 game of all time. That kind of success deserves a sequel, don't you think? Well, the word Super Mario 128 began to circulate thanks to Shigeru Miyamoto after he announced that Nintendo was working on a Super Mario 64 sequel in 1997. The game was talked about for years until an odd demo debuted in Nintendo's Space World trade show in 2000. The demo showcased dozens of Marios scurrying across a 3D globe. Despite this interesting demo, Super Mario 128 slowly faded away. In 2007, Miyamoto admitted to gamers the footage shown in 2007 was simply a tech demo displaying the power of the Nintendo GameCube. It was later revealed Super Mario 128 evolved into Super Mario Galaxy for the Wii. The way the Marios moved around the globe in the demo is shockingly similar to how he moves around the planets in Galaxy. Some components in the demo were reworked for other titles, but the true sequel to Super Mario 64 was not meant to be. It's a shame because with a title like Super Mario 128, Nintendo would have had money falling from the sky. Thank you for watching. It's shocking to believe that Nintendo wanted to name Super Mario 64's sequel Super Mario 128. Clearly, the project was cancelled due to a lack of creativity. Well, leave a like if you enjoyed this video and let us know about any cancelled games we may have missed in the comments section below. Also, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with our amazing videos. Have a good one and see you in the next video.